Players like Ronaldo come along once in a generation. He's an artist who possesses that extra...
That is why he is worth so many millions.
Voted the world's best player on 3 occasions, the Brazilian superstar is a living legend. Bento Ribeiro, a poor suburb on the outskirts of Rio de Janeiro. These are the dusty streets where Ronaldo Luis Nazario de Lima grew up. Born in September 1976, he played his first professional game when only 14 years old and made his debut for Cruzeiro just 2 years later. After scoring 58 times in 60 appearances, the buck-toothed teenager was a name known throughout the world by the time he was 17. In March 1994, the precocious striker played his first international for Brazil against arch-rivals Argentina.
Juninho. Oh, stood on. That's a beautiful ball. Ronaldo! England.
Following a brilliant debut, he was hailed as the nation's greatest talent since Pelé. A few months later, he was named in the World Cup squad. Although he didn't play in the team that won the final in the USA, Ronaldo's career was about to take off. Seeking to escape Rio and prove himself in Europe, he followed the footsteps of Romario and joined PSV Eindhoven in August 1994. The Dutch side paid a club record of nearly $5 million for the Brazilian. The easygoing striker with a gap-toothed smile was an immediate sensation in Holland, ending his first of 3 seasons with PSV as the league's top scorer with 30 goals.
Ronaldo, the injection of pace, and a goal! Ronaldo for PSV.
It was only a matter of time before Europe's bigger clubs started chasing the emerging superstar, and, having coached him at PSV, Barcelona manager Bobby Robson was well aware of his outstanding potential. Ronaldo was a key figure in Robson's plan for success at Barcelona, and he persuaded the club's president to buy the 20-year-old striker for a world record fee of $20 million. Scoring goals at an inconceivable pace, his signature celebration, arms spread wide like wings doing his human aeroplane victory lap, became a regular sight in the Premier League. Bobby Robson's gamble paid off handsomely as Ronaldo finished the season with a club record of 34 goals.
The FIFA World Player of the Year for 1996, Ronaldo.
To cap off his sensational introduction to top-flight football, the Brazilian striker became the youngest footballer to win FIFA's coveted World Player of the Year award.
The FIFA João Blanche é Ronaldo.
However, after just 1 season with Barcelona, Ronaldo became embroiled in one of the longest transfer disputes in the history of the game. In his contract, the prolific striker's move to Inter Milan was completed when FIFA ordered the Italian club to pay an additional $1.8 million to Barcelona. The total fee of $28 million was a new world record. After months of wrangling, Ronaldo received an amazing reception on his arrival. Seen as the answer to Inter Milan's striker problems, fans greeted the Brazilian superstar like the new messiah. There were some who doubted his ability to succeed against the tough Serie A defenders, but they were proven wrong. In the first 8 games of the season, Ronaldo scored 9 times, including a hat-trick.
Yes, it's got it! And Ronaldo gives into the lead on the night.
With 34 goals and a UEFA Cup winners medal, Ronaldo was a sensation in his first season.
World Player of the Year 1997 is Ronaldo.
Named European Footballer of the Year, the gifted forward also won FIFA's World Player of the Year award for the second consecutive year, an unheard of achievement. With the world at his feet, the sky was the limit for the player known as the Phenomenon. The boy from Brazil was the new king of world football. Brazil went into the 1998 World Cup in France as the defending champion and overwhelming favourite, with Ronaldo their most charismatic star. Following on from his brilliant debut season for Inter, the tournament was supposed to be the highlight of his great career.
Can he slip Ronaldo through? And it's in!
Well,
the revival is on.
That's the first little glimpse of that man's talent. He's got great feet. Unbelievable acceleration there.
The story of what happened to Ronaldo prior to the final has never been satisfactorily revealed. Did he really experience a severe convulsion on the afternoon of the match, as claimed by Roberto Carlos? And if so, what caused it? Was it the effect of an injection prescribed to dull the pain in knees that had already, at the age of 21, been subjected to terrible abuse? Or was it an emotional problem stemming from the tremendous pressure created by celebrity and commercial interests? After Brazil lost the final 3-0 to France, controversy swirled around Ronaldo. The World Cup fiasco was the beginnings of a dark period for Ronaldo, whose history of knee problems goes back to when he played in Holland. From late 1998, he was plagued by a series of serious injuries that would severely curtail his career for nearly 4 years. As a result, the life of the most celebrated footballer on the planet consisted almost entirely of operations, long convalescences, and cruelly abortive comebacks. Back in Italy, he started the following season in good form, but just a few months into the new Italian season, tragedy struck on a greasy San Siro pitch. At first, Inter Milan denied their star striker needed surgery, but 2 weeks later, he underwent an operation on a ruptured kneecap tendon at a clinic in Paris. The prognosis was that he would be out of action for between 4 and 5 months, but Ronaldo was determined to return to the game that he loved and had given him so much. But it wasn't all bad news for the boy wonder from Brazil. A few weeks after the operation, he married model Milena Dominguez in a modest ceremony at his mother's house in Rio de Janeiro. For football fans around the world, it was good to see Ronaldo smiling again, following the news that he'd be out of action for several months. And there was another piece of good news. The newlywed couple were expecting a baby. 3 months after surgery, Ronaldo's recovery was progressing well. Under the supervision of physiotherapist Nilton Petroni, he endured a rigorous rehabilitation program in the mountains near Rio. Slowly but surely, the strength in his damaged knee gradually returned. He started running again. Slow, tentative steps at first. Soon he was able to pull on a pair of boots for the first time since the operation. It was an important and morale-boosting moment. With the eyes of the world upon him, it was obvious the anguish and anxiety of this frustrating recovery period was disappearing. Knowing that a return to the game he loved was imminent, the boyish grin was back. Back in Europe, a few weeks later, there was good news from his surgeon. It was time to rejoin his teammates at Inter Milan. More training and practice matches were needed to rediscover that magic touch, but within a month, the world's best player was ready to make his long-awaited return to football. In the days leading up to his scheduled comeback, there was more good news when his wife Milena gave birth to a son. For Ronaldo, the dark clouds had lifted and the sun was shining again. After nearly 5 months out of action, Ronaldo jogged onto the pitch as a substitute in the Italian Cup final against Lazio. The months of painstaking and frustrating rehabilitation was suddenly a distant memory. 6 minutes later, he launched one of his trademark weaving runs on goal, and then he fell to the ground, clutching his right knee, screaming in agony. Nobody could believe the tragic moment they just witnessed. When Ronaldo's knee collapsed, it was more than a blow for his club Inter Milan and his country, Brazil. The whole world felt his pain. The next day, he flew to Paris for an examination by the same specialist who'd operated on his knee the previous November. Shielded by security guards, he hobbled into the Salpêtrière hospital through a crowd of waiting reporters. The diagnosis wasn't good. In fact, it was horrific. He'd torn the tendon in his right knee and would be away from the game for at least several months. As word spread of the latest and perhaps saddest chapter in Ronaldo's young career, some began to question whether the two-time Player of the Year would ever return to football. The career of the heir apparent to the legendary Pelé was at a crossroads. 10 days after surgery, a dejected Ronaldo faced the world's press.
I feel disillusioned after 5 long, hard months of work. All the desire I've had of returning to the field, all the hard training, everything has been thrown away after just 5 minutes of a match. And no one can understand the reason for my injury.
Nessuno può capire il motivo di questo infortunio.
From the darkest period of his career to the greatest, Ronaldo's inspirational story continues after the break on Immortals. Suffering his career-threatening injury, a period of rest was followed by a strenuous training schedule involving 3 hours of physical therapy in the gym, followed by an hour of on-pitch training and 2 hours exercising in the pool. The long, painful road to recovery only heightened talk of a premature retirement. There was speculation that even if he did come back, he would never be the player of old. 12 months would pass before Ronaldo commenced light training with Inter Milan. Naturally, after missing a whole season, he was rusty, but competitive practice matches gave him the chance to fine-tune the skills that had elevated him to legendary status. But it was another 5 months before the star striker finally reappeared in an Inter Milan shirt. After playing just 6 minutes of football in 18 months, he came on as a substitute in September of 2001 and played the last 30 minutes of Inter's UEFA Cup tie against the Romanian team Brasov. The 26-year-old's competitive juices were flowing again. In March of 2002, he played his first international for Brazil in 2.5 years. With the World Cup just a few months away, the sight of Ronaldo in a Brazilian shirt was exactly what the fans wanted to see. Injury-free, he was ready to strike back. After Brazilian coach Felipe Scolari announced that Ronaldo was in their 2002 World Cup squad, the countdown that the entire football population of the world had been waiting for commenced. After 5 different operations on his right knee and more than 4 years of pain, sweat and tears, the superstar was ready to exorcise the demons of France '98. For most of the time since France '98, Ronaldo had played the part of the tragic hero. But after almost 4 years in the wilderness, the stage was set for him to take the final step out of the darkness. After beating England in the quarter-finals and Turkey in the semis, the 4-time world champions were looking good, especially with Ronaldo in brilliant form. In the 2002 World Cup final against Germany, the moment of truth had arrived for Ronaldo and his battle-scarred knee. In the first half, the striker's predatory instincts were prevalent, but he squandered 3 gilt-edged chances. However, After the break, Ronaldo's radar was on target and he struck twice in the space of 12 minutes to secure yet another world crown for his country in Yokohama. The born-again striker played a significant role as Brazil won football's ultimate prize for the 5th time and cemented their status as the most successful team in the history of the competition. On a personal level, it was a story of retribution, as Ronaldo's match-winning performance finally laid to rest the ghosts of France '98. And with 8 goals for the tournament, winning the Golden Boot award confirmed his reputation as the world's best striker. While Ronaldo and the rest of the Brazilian team enjoyed a well-earned rest, rumours that the Golden Boot winner would be joining Spanish giants Real Madrid began to circulate. At the beginning of August, a week before he was due back in Italy, it was reported that Ronaldo's agent had approached Real Madrid. The Italian media ran with the story, and when he returned, there was an angry mob waiting to greet him at the airport. To avoid the waiting Inter Milan fans and what could have been an ugly scene, he was whisked away by security. Soon after, the silence was broken, and Ronaldo announced that he wanted to leave Inter Milan and return to Spain. With Ronaldo having stated his intention, Real Madrid's president, Florentino Perez, then met with Inter Milan to discuss a possible transfer deal. However, talks broke down after Real called off the bid because of differences over the value of the player. But with the transfer deadline looming, the two clubs restarted negotiations and eventually agreed to a deal which saw the Brazilian striker sign for Real Madrid in a complex transfer worth €47 million. Inter Milan fans were outraged. After everything the club had done for him, they regarded his departure as an act of betrayal. It was a totally different scene in Spain, where Real Madrid's latest star signing was given a warm welcome. Real Madrid fans could hardly wait for Ronaldo to take his place in the team of stars that included Luis Figo and Zinedine Zidane, both winners of the World Player of the Year title. But a minor ankle injury delayed Real's latest star recruit from playing until a month later. In October, Ronaldo eventually made his debut for Real Madrid at the Bernabeu against Alaves. More than 75,000 Real fans roared with approval as the Brazilian came on as a substitute 64 minutes into the game. Less than a minute later, they were cheering again when the Brazilian scored the first goal for his new club. The year 2002 was a remarkable one for Ronaldo. Returning from career-threatening injuries, he overcame personal, physical and psychological drama to complete a clean sweep of the end-of-year awards. Not only did the Brazilian striker win the Golden Ball award for the European Footballer of the Year, he was also named FIFA's World Player of the Year for the 3rd time. In his first season with Real Madrid, Ronaldo finished as the Primera Liga's equal leading scorer with 23 goals. 2 of those goals came in the final game of the season against Athletic Bilbao, as the striker effectively sealed Madrid's 29th league title. Surprisingly, this was the first league championship in the striker's high-profile career. Following the euphoria of that season's success, the next few years would be an anticlimax for Ronaldo, signified by the Brazilian's divorce from his wife Milena in 2003. Despite scoring more than 20 goals in each of his first 3 seasons at Real, by 2005 the potency and brilliance he'd become known for started to fade, and an apparent lack of physical fitness became a public issue. While there were still some flashes of his genius, the 2005-06 season finished prematurely for Ronaldo when he limped off the pitch soon after scoring his 100th goal for Madrid in April. Clearly overweight and struggling for fitness, Real fans accused the striker of opting out of the season in order to focus on the upcoming World Cup. The loss of faith from his Spanish supporters was disconcerting to Ronaldo, and he openly signalled that he wanted out of the club. Although he recovered in time to play for Brazil at the finals in Germany and scored 3 times to reach a record total of 15 World Cup goals, his lumbering performances did little to improve his flagging reputation. The 2006 World Cup was a disappointing encounter for Ronaldo, with Brazil dropping out in the quarter-finals to France. There was no denying it, Ronaldo's career had hit a trough. In late January 2007, it was confirmed the now 30-year-old Ronaldo would be leaving Real Madrid and returning to the league that originally launched him to superstardom, Italy's Serie A, though this time he'd be pulling on an AC Milan shirt. The 7.5 million euros was but a fraction of the 47 million Real had first paid for the striker 4.5 years earlier, but AC Milan believed they'd secured a player who could still produce results for at least a few more years yet. Regardless of what his critics may think, there's no denying the effect Ronaldo's mere presence can have on a team. And whether he's scoring goals or not, you can't put a price on his influence.
Ronaldo delivers section of pace. Goal!
Fast and has an innate goal-scoring sense most other players can only admire.
Ronaldo. Yes, it's done it!
Perhaps the greatest player of his era, Ronaldo Luis Nazario de Lima will be immortalized in the history of the game forever.